Hello and thanks for staying on LN 24/7. This is Politics Now. My name is Moreno Balagbobo. Now, since last week Friday, there's been multiple reactions, some surprised, some not surprised, over the Supreme Court's ruling on Rivers State politics. Key issues: first, the status of the State House of Assembly, and secondly, the status of the local government. Well, today on the show, our focus will be on X-raying the ruling on the State Assembly and also dissecting the ruling on local government election and also what next for Fubara. Well, our guest joining us today virtually will have Augustine K. Ungu. He's a lawyer, partner, Wugu and Udwala LP. And of course, with us live here on set, Mekara Ugoniwari, our political analyst. I hope I didn't murder your name. Thank you so much for being with us on the show. All right, we'll get to you shortly. Also, Zoe Solomon Tabono Tonye, a political analyst and a lecturer and development activist from the University of Port Harcourt, will be joining us virtually for the conversation. So we'll take a quick breather. When we come, we'll do all the breakdown for you and then get into the conversation. Do stay with us. Good to have you back. The political crisis in Rivers State took a fresh turn on Friday after the Supreme Court delivered judgment affirming Martin Amewule and 26 others as valid members of the State House of Assembly. Now, the Rivers State House of Assembly on Monday has given Governor Sim Fubara 48 hours to present the 2025 budget to the lawmakers. The lawmakers gave the directive during plenary in Port Harcourt on Monday. Security operatives, including the Department of State Services, DSS, and the Nigerian Police Force, had taken over the Rivers State House of Assembly quarters, the venue for the sitting. Of course, you can stay with us right here for more details on our subsequent news bulletins. Now, this all started, of course, with the Supreme Court ruling affirming Martin Amewule-led Rivers House of Assembly as valid. And the Apex Court said it was unconstitutional for Fubara to work with only 4 out of the 31 House of Assembly members. Speaking further, it stated that the 27 members of the House of Assembly must be allowed to resume their duties without being stopped. And that is, of course, looking on course from all observations that we saw today. Also, the Apex Court declared the October 5th local government elections last year invalid. And that judgment was delivered by Justice Jamilu Tukur, and the court declared the conduct of the local government polls in the state null and void. And in another development, actually, this was last week, the FCT minister was seen in a viral video with some of his allies, including some former 7 senators, praising God for the victory at the court. Quite a scene, bearing fully in mind that this case is between Governor Fubara and the lawmakers. But we all know what's going on. The pro-Wike lawmakers, who are the major beneficiaries of the court judgment, held a plenary that was last week. And Amewule, of course, has hailed the judgment of the Supreme Court that now recognizes him as, a lawmaker again. And he said that Governor Fubara should repent from his sins, pointing out that the governor was running a criminal government with illegal appointees. And some of those appointees are still working. We'll see how, based on the 24-hour notice to the governor, we'll see how compliant he will be, bearing in mind that he has said that he is actually going to comply. But I want us to take the soundbite of the governor on Sunday, where he talked about the fact that he was going to comply.
We are all aware of the recent Supreme Court judgment and the pronouncement regarding aspects of the lingering political disputes in our dear state. Although we disagree with the judgment, we are bound to obey the order made therein as a law-abiding government. Since inception, we have conducted the affair of government within the framework of our Constitution, due process, and the rule of law. While we are not above mistakes, because we are humans, we believe that we have not, as a government, done anything deliberately to trample on the rule of law or the hallowed principles of constitutional governance. Accordingly, I've had a meeting with my team of lawyers, and they have assured me that the certified true copy of the judgment may be available to them by Friday, the 7th March of 2025. I assure you that upon the receipt of certified judgment, we shall study the ramification and implement them without reservation to move the state forward. Furthermore, given the outlawing of caretaker arrangements in the local government system, I hereby direct head of local government administration to immediately take over the administration of the 23 local government council, pending the conduct of a fresh election by the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. I further direct that the outgoing local government chairman to formally hand over to the head of local government administration by Monday, the 3rd of March 2025. Although our dear state seems to be back in trying time, I urge everyone to remain calm and peacefully go about with their legitimate daily activity as we continue to do everything in our power to advance our responsibility to the citizen. Thank you, and may God bless Rivers State.
All right, so let's take a listen to some thoughts from Wike over the verdict that, of course, he says reinforced the principle that the budget must be presented to a duly constituted legislature, ensuring that governance remains lawful and accountable. And he described the judgment as a victory for democracy. Let's just have a listen to that soundbite.
This matter has been laid to rest by the highest court of the land. The only thing that can happen now is for anybody to appeal to God. If there's an opportunity for you to appeal to God, Supreme Court has made it very clear that you cannot have a democracy without a legislature. The Supreme Court has made it clear, cannot say there's a government without the legislature. It is unheard of where anybody will say 3 people will constitute an assembly to make laws for the entire state. It's unheard of. It has nothing to do with any individual, whether you like this person's face or not. But it is what is important is that can 3 people make law for a state?
Now, reacting to the judgment, the Rivers State government, via the Commissioner for Information, said the implications of the verdict as concerning the state funds and local government administration, all of that will be looked into. And of course, hopefully from today, we can begin to see more updates on that. But let's move away from the soundbite of the Commissioner for Information. So just to remind you again of some of the key rulings, we've got the infographics for you. So during the course of the program, we will try as much as possible to display it so that you can see some of the key rulings. First, the Supreme Court ruled that the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Accountant General of the Federation must halt the release of funds to the Rivers State government until the Rivers House of Assembly is properly constituted. And of course, the Apex Court affirming Martin Amewule-led Rivers Assembly, and no funds should be disbursed to the Rivers State government until a lawful appropriation, and the court declaring the election invalid for grossly violating the Electoral Act. While we wait for our guests to get back with us, of course, you're with us in the studio. Thank you so much, Mekara, for being with us in a short time. So how are you processing some of these developments in Rivers State? I mean, you've lived there, you've served under some of the political appointees loyal to both Wike and Fubara.
Well, That's actually putting me in a tight corner like the governor.
So are you Team Fubara or you're Team Wike?
I am someone who doesn't want to take sides.
Why?
Because there's no wrong that Fubara has done.
What about Wike? Has he done any wrong?
Wike also probably should be facing the FCT. What is the current thing? What is Wike looking for in Rivers State? That should be the question.
Well, you know the answer to that question.
I don't know. You maybe you tell me.
No, you're my guest. You should tell me. You're a politician, so you know what's up.
Now.
But of course, we know the whole godfatherism of a thing.
That is,
yeah.
Let's keep sentiment, like they always say, and emotions aside. Let's discuss the facts. What is the Wike doing in Rivers State's affairs? I mean, every other governor that served with him has moved on. Why is he still going back and forth, forgetting his present primary assignment? It is like a child who has left SS2 for SS3.
But there are some people that will argue that he's doing fine here because, I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's doing fine here. So what are you looking for in Rivers State? What are you looking for in Rivers? Is the governor not working? Is the governor? Are people complaining that the governor is not working? No. I mean, that's the question. Has there been any complaints by Rivers people that the governor is not working? I mean, the governor has been commissioning projects.
But I'm not defending Wike now, but we know he's someone that's been very outspoken.
Yes.
He has said that, I mean, he hates people who are not grateful in the sense that he brought Fubara into power, and then the political structure.
Was Fubara appointed to be a governor, or was he voted? And was the vote a one-man vote, or was it a vote from Rivers people? So if he's saying he brought Fubara in, it means he appointed Fubara to be governor. So that means Fubara is an appointee, not one that was voted in. Then there should be some clause somewhere. We have to now go back and then question INEC.
But the question I want to direct to you is that why are politicians like that? You are a politician. Is that the style of politics that you want?
That is not the style of politics I want to play. Okay, let's put it this way.
But you know that's how things work.
Let me give an example. Politics is a very beautiful game. Imagine somebody helps you to marry a wife. Will the person still call you when to pillow your wife? That's what is happening here. So where we call politics, you have done the needful for me. Allow me to do what I need to do. Where I am not doing well, and the people complain, maybe they come to you as somebody who they see to be the one who puts me there, then you come out and speak. And no Rivers person has come to complain that Fubara is not delivering to Rivers people what is due them. Nobody has come to complain that Fubara is owing civil servants. Nobody has come to complain that Fubara is not commissioning projects. I mean, Fubara's government is one of the governments, from my little knowledge, that has not even probed the past government like it used to be.
Good. Now, from the soundbite we heard from FCT Minister, he talked about the fact that, I mean, running the state with a budget not approved by, majority of the lawmakers was illegal, and the Supreme Court has ruled in his favor. So to me, it seems to me that that's one of his major challenges with Fubara, and why he is fully on board to ensure that does not happen. But let me just take your quick reaction to what has played out
now.
With the Supreme Court ruling.
Is this a case against Wike and Fubara in court? Why is Wike the one celebrating the most? Is it his birthday? Is it the celebrant? Let's ask those questions. I mean,
so so based on what you just said now,
yes,
when you look at motive, what do you think is at play here?
I think what is at play here is somebody that's trying to romance his ego to say, I am the Lord.
So it's all about ego.
That is it.
For you.
That is it. Because there has not been, nobody has complained that Fubara is not commissioning projects. Nobody has complained that Fubara is owing. So how come the Supreme Court judgment, the most happiest of them all, has been the FCT Minister, Wike? So what is he looking for? He wants to make it look like, okay, I am the Lord. Everybody must bow to me. I put you there, I can take you out. It shouldn't be like that. You don't force loyalty on people. I mean, Wike is not even getting the amount of respect he should have gotten as he was when he was a governor. And when he left, I could remember when he left the office of the governor, when he handed over, he in his community, he walked into his own family house like Jesus when he was coming to Nazareth. People worshipped him. But all of a sudden, that glory is no longer there. So something is wrong.
All right. Now, I wanted to call your attention to the 24-hour notice by the reinstated Speaker of the House of Assembly and to the governor. Now, just before we came on the show, you know, on Sunday, the governor said that he was going to comply with the Supreme Court's ruling.
Yes.
So, are you seeing dynamics from, you know, now, conversation with stakeholders? Do you think there will be a swift transition?
Let us look at this thing a little logically now. If we just came out of a case, what should Martin Samewule do? I think he should have been extending the hand of friendship to the governor. Rather, because he's working under instructions, apply pressure on him. Allegedly, I'm just using though. Because at the end of the day, we just got out of a fight that Martin Samewule, was not even in the forefront. It was the FCT minister. Because the FCC minister is romancing his ego, his own personal ego. So, immediately you're coming in, the first thing should have been, like, okay, their governor, because they don't respect the governor. The one other one, somewhere one or
Would you say that that was what built up to
that is it? That is it. They do not respect the governor. First and foremost, they had been already envious of the man, because he was the chosen one by Wike. Wike didn't see any of them fit.
And that's where this fallout.
That is where Wike did not see any. Wike rather was. I'm sure. I'm not Wike, no, but I'm just speaking because you have to look at the dynamics of it. Why didn't Wike choose any of them to become governor? Were they not qualified? No, but he didn't see any of them fit. He felt Sim would do. You know, he felt Sim will, and Sim came in, and Sim is doing his job. So they are angry because they were not choosing. If you don't forget, Wike one time came and apologized. I made a mistake for bringing Sim. I hope we remember that. He said it. So automatically, Martin Samewule is still acting a script that is being given to him from somewhere. God knows where. Because he just came in and you're putting a 24. What are you people looking for?
Do you think that Governor Fubara will be impeached?
Well, that question you're asking me, let us start from the beginning. What do you think brought about 27 lawmakers waving flag on TV? What were they looking for? Why did they move in the first place? Who instructed them to move? Was there any problem? There was no problem. You woke up one day and decided you want to move. Nobody, the governor never had any confrontational problem with any of them. Nothing. For one day, you woke up and acted a script being given to you as puppets, and you go ahead and do it. Today now, the person carrying the fight on his head more is a minister of the Federal Capital Territory who has no business or should have no business with Rivers State government. At this point, our president, our dear president, President Tinubu, he's the president of Nigeria. Does he not have to leave Nigeria and go to Ghana and be looking for how to help them?
When you go back to that deal, that political deal that the president brokered between the two of them, and you come back to where we are right now, how do you make sense
in that deal? The president called for peace. The president did not advise anybody to come up with another strategy to create loopholes. It's like setting a trap. Yes, the president did not say, after now, the president said, come for peace. Let us, and I'm sure in the present language, without saying, he would have been telling Wike, remove your hand from this pot of soup and face the one I've given to you here in the FCT. That was what the president was saying. Leave these people alone. Yes, the governor is according to you in quotes, is your son. You've given him a responsibility. Allow him work. Then where he's making mistakes, you come, but there has not been any. Let them point out one mistake that Sim has. Let Wike and his and the 27 this thing. Let them come out and say one thing. Why have there not been any cry that the man is not paying salary? Rather, the man has made sure that Sim himself he's one of the most outstanding governors.
Now, let's talk about how he is going to deal with this dilemma now, because he just has, I mean, how many lawmakers loyal to him? How is that? Because I recall
The
FCT
lawmakers
Minister
that are
Wike
loyal,
is on record that he's
the
going to make
lawmakers, let's ask
Rivers State
questions.
ungovernable.
Thank you.
And that seems to have been fulfilled now, because how do you explain how he's going to be able to
In
govern?
your words, he said that seems to have been fulfilled because that was what one man wants. He wants everybody to bow. If anybody needs to use the restroom in River State, he should be informed. If anybody needs to go and fetch water from the bucket in River State, he should be informed. Because somebody refused to stress you because you have other responsibilities and decides to say, let me help myself to the toilet. Oh no, why? I should be informed. And then of course, people who are already envious of the governor would be loyal to whoever is trying to see how the governor will be punished.
Now, Mekara, we've seen Wike's trajectory from the onset of this political crisis in the state. If truly, because I remember asking a question to one of my guests I've had on this show to talk about this issue of reverse political crisis. I mean, these two men are people who have served in the state. They are both. Fubara is a governor. Wike has been a governor.
Yes.
If they truly love the state,
Thank you.
why can't there be peace? And that leads to the question I want to ask you. In the midst of all these things, do you think that for the sake of the prosperity of the state and for the sake of things being done, do you think Fubara needs to apologize or have a meeting with Wike to see how they can move ahead in the light of the Supreme Court ruling?
There was a time on social media, a video popped up where Fubara met Wike in public and extended a hand of friendship. Remember, Wike pointed him to go and, that shows Fubara has probably been trying to, seek for peace. That, when we say peace, is there even war? There's no war. There is no war. Yeah, there's nothing Fubara has done wrong. Oh, you claim I am not loyal. Then give me the room to play the loyalty. Let me pretend for you. You come into the States at your time, as you will. On a normal day, if Wike would have maintained, he will be coming into the States, and when he comes, the governor will receive you. Look at Fubara's disposition. He's a calm man. He doesn't say much. But you can hear in his word, he says he has been pushed to the wall. We need to also ask, what exactly has been going on under? Fubara may not want to say so many things, but I think that man has been going through a whole lot of pressure. Just because one man wants to make himself Lord. That is just it. That is just it. Nobody should go. Wike does not entertain anybody going against him. That's the FCT minister. Which is not good. It's not good. It's not healthy. Sometimes you should let things just go. This matter, I am still asking a question. Why is Wike the one celebrating it most? And you see, in his company was a governor, a former governor of Abia, who in his time as a governor, we cannot write him. He was giving pregnant women 500 naira. These are the kind of people you want to carry associate. You want people that will worship you. But when you see a man that is successful and doing well, you should also encourage. If Wike were to have sat down and say, okay, fine, this is my boy I put there in quotes. Let me allow him do his thing. He will be, nothing will change. You are the FCT minister. Adibin Wike was not appointed a minister, but would have said, okay, he was jobless and was looking for where to belong. But right now you are busy. You have things to do in the FCT. At least you have some roads to scrape off and redo. Why don't you face them?
Well, Mekara, we'll have to go because we need to speak to some of our other guests. But I want to thank you so much for coming. And I know that this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is definitely a developing story, and we'll be following it and see how Fubara is.
Wike should allow River State to move. Development. This thing is costing a whole lot. And if Governor Sim were not a competent man, was not a bright person, some governors will say we cannot do things because at this point we have troubles we're trying to face. But if you watch, Sim does not. He commissioned a project, some days ago. Even while the court was going on, the man doesn't have. He's just doing. Some people will not work at this kind of this thing. So Wike should allow Rivers. He should allow the people enjoy them and watch it. This local government, if you observe, something happened. These local government elections that are held in October that they are campaigning brought about a big opening. You now see some young persons who have been suppressed, who could have done the job well, just because you are not in the one camp. Look at Port Harcourt local government, look at Obiakpo. They all delivered. And watch it, if they put an election again, those same persons will win. And the more Rivers people are even loving.
We'll be monitoring all the developments as regarding Rivers State. Once again, thank you so much for being with us on Politics Now.
Thank you for having me.
All right, you're still on to Politics Now. We'll take a quick breather. When we come back, we will be speaking to our guests who are already standing by and also get the thoughts of legal practitioner, Barrister Augustine, and Mr. Zoe, all the way from Rivers State. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
What makes the political system what it is today? What are the recurring issues?
Order.
The tussle for power.
An extremely problematic area.
The tension. The instability of the system. Join Ellen 24/7 as we take you inside the local and international political arena in the world of politics.
Apologize for saying that I was corrupt.
I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
Watch Politics Now on LN 24/7.
Don't miss Politics Now on LN 24/7.
Many thanks for staying with us on Politics Now. This time around, we'll move the conversation and have the conversation with people in Rivers State. Mr. Zoe is standing by. Thank you so much for being with us on the show.
Thank you. It's always my pleasure.
So let's start with your reaction to the governor's response on Sunday. I want to start from there because you have been someone who has been so vocal with your support for the governor, but it turns out he is ready to work with this, directive of the Supreme Court to move forward with governance.
I listened to the governor's broadcast last night, and I would say that is the best in the circumstances. I love his disposition, his choice of words. It goes to show that he's a man that will live within the confines of the law. He's a man that will govern within the confines of the law. So far, so good. He has shown that he is a governor that will govern within the confines of the law from his speech yesterday. So it's okay going forward from that state.
Now, I want us to move on to the Supreme Court's ruling and begin to pick some of your thoughts on how people are responding to this ruling and some of your key concerns, even though the Supreme Court's verdict is the final.
No. I won't say I am this legal team. However, I think it's very important for us to have a retrospective view of what has led us to where we are today. Remember that the former governor, Chief Barrister Wike, with due respect, brought Governor Fubara and anointed him as his political son to succeed him. We are all a witness to the manipulation and irregularities. The former governor took advantage of his position and eventually brought Governor Fubara as a governor of Rivers State. 6 months into the administration of the governor, the former governor, Nyesom Wike, initiated the process to impeach the governor. And he stood on a church pulpit and declared that he was going to make Rivers State ungovernable so that the governor not govern. Following that statement,
the 27 defected 27 assembly members move in motion to bring to fruition the statements of their master. And so they begin a process of impeachment. In the course of that, the governor, Sim Fubara, asked a question: what have I done for you to impeach me? That question have not been answered. These are the issues that lay the foundation to where we are today. So, answering your question, I am not disappointed by the legal team of the governor. I am, however, disappointed by the Supreme Court, because up till now, I'm still in a state of shock how they came about these sweeping decisions and as it affects our democracy. Remember, the America we usually compare ourselves to or draw inspiration from for our democracy. Remember the issues that came up prior to the American elections recently, where the government in power were using their influence to come against the current governor, the current president, Donald Trump. They were using state courts, federal high courts, appeal. But when all those judgments against Donald Trump went to the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court dismissed compared to what the Supreme Court in Nigeria has done. I am sorry. Considering how the Supreme associated with the FCT minister. Remember recently, I wrote a letter to the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and I told her that our public appearances and have nothing with the minister impartiality are coming to a temple of justice and this judgment, as it were, has a far-reaching implication, because from a layman point of view, judges also look at the wider impacts, how this judgment is going to affect Rivers people, is going to affect our democracy going forward. I think by this judgment, the judiciary has just handed over Rivers State to the former governor. I am not disappointed by the legal team of the governor. I think they did.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Barrister Augustine joins us now. Thank you so much. Good to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
You're the lawyer. It's quite funny because I rarely do this on this program, but the few times you've been here, you've been quite concerned in terms of the legal standing and how Fubara's legal team were going about this particular case. And your predictions were quite correct. So how do you respond?
All right, I heard some Mr. Zoe came up with. I understand the sentiments that we all have, mostly when a judgment goes against us. But I've been very clear from this should be the third time you had me on the show over the same issue. And I was clear that from what I see from we can call him the speaker now, the speaker of the House of Assembly legal team, they seem to have a coherent legal strategy. And I use the word seem with respect. They seem to have a coherent legal strategy. The team of on the other side seem not to have a coherent legal strategy. They just seem to be shooting from the hip. And it was from that projection and looking at what the speaker's legal team was doing that I projected that this was what was going to turn out. I understand the issues we're dealing with the people of Rivers State, the political undertone for these whole issues. Whether or not the fight between Wike and Fubara, the impact on the Rivers people wanting to be weaned from the influence of Wike and all the rest of that. I understand that, and I understand all the sentiments involved with that. The critical thing which we should have done, which in my view, the other parties should have considered it, how do we achieve our goal within the ambit of the law? That's the first question you put your legal team together to be able to answer. How do we achieve our goal? We want to be weaned of the of Wike's impact, but how do we achieve it within the ambit of the law? That's the first thing. That's the most critical objective they should have decided. Then when they decide that objective, they can then devise legal plans or legal strategies to achieve that. So the sentiment now, it's the Supreme Court should have listened, should have cared about what the impact on the people. Unfortunately, sentiment doesn't come into play here. If you follow if you follow the cases carefully, you realize that there are two streams of cases. One of them was when the speaker went to court, to the Federal High Court, I think Justice Omotosho, and asked that the budget and asked for the budget to be presented properly before the House of Assembly. That was where the first error began. That was where the other party made the error. At the time, the speaker brought that suit just before judgment. The state government legal team withdrew all their processes. If you ask any first year legal practitioner, he will tell you this. When you withdraw your processes against a suit, what you have done is that you have admitted that the party's allegations are true. So the moment that thing was withdrawn, right, the legal team of Fubara, of the governor of Rivers State, withdrew their own contention and their filings against the suit by the speaker. They opened the doorway to all this that has happened. So, of course, when Justice Omotosho wanted to give the judgment, part of her reasoning was that there was nothing from the other party before this cause contesting all the allegations made by the speaker and the parties on his side. That's where this whole issue came from. So when the governor, when the Rivers State went to the Court of Appeal, the Court of Appeal said you have no basis for challenging that decision since you had withheld all your, or withdrew all your processes. So it's as good as admitting that everything alleged by the speaker and his side was the truth. So, and this wasn't told to the public. So we start having all these arguments about whether or not it's just or it's not just. The issue is not about whether or not it's just. And it comes to us understanding how the legal system works. Let's leave the sentiment, the judiciary is corrupt. Anytime I hear that, it gets me a bit upset because it stops getting me upset anyway. It always emanates from the parties that have lost.
Now, there's been a slew of reactions regarding justice for the people. I want to recall some of the thoughts shared by Barrister Kenneth Okonkwo, of course, the popular Nigerian actor and former spokesman for Peter Obi. I want to ask the same question. Couldn't the court have found a way to ensure funds, were not seized in the process of this ruling? Because that's going to have a lot of impact on the people.
Man, I will say this, and people will not understand it. There are two types of justice. There's justice according to the law, there's justice according to morality. The law has never been concerned about justice according to morality, unfortunately. Right? Unfortunately, the law has always been concerned with justice according to the law. The Supreme Court decision is that the Constitution provides, and we all agree that the Constitution is the ground norm. The Constitution provides that there are certain ways in which state funds must be spent. Before any kobo will be spent from a state fund, there must be an appropriation account passed by the State House of Assembly and ascertained to by the governor. In this instance, there is no appropriation fund in accordance with the law. That's where the problem is.
So I wanted to bring to your attention the fact that the 2024 fiscal year is over. So you can't undo that. Why will the court not find a way still to ensure that because 2024 is gone, then why do people have to suffer by withholding funds?
Let me ask you a question. So if I kill somebody in 2024, right, and then the matter comes before the court this year, you will tell me that that was done in the past. The issue here, narrow it down. The issue here is simple. At the time that funds was spent, was there an appropriate law backing the spending of that funds in accordance with the Constitution? The Supreme Court answered no. It's as simple as that. The Supreme Court answered no. See, there is a way out of this, but it's not in my interest to say it in public. But there's a way out of this, so I'll just hint. You mentioned it. That was 2024. The Supreme Court decision is based on the 2024 decision. Should it affect the 2025, where we are in 2025? You should take my hint. I think there's a way around that. But whether or not this decision of the Supreme Court is proper, it is proper. But whether or not it should impact the 2025, well, we can have an argument around that.
Now, good to have you back, Mr. Zoe. Let's start with your thoughts. I'm sure you've been listening to what Barrister has been saying before you joined us back. So what are your thoughts?
Okay, I can also understand his whole sentiment, but let's not be academic as far as this issue are concerned. These are issues that affect the daily life of Rivers people. So let's not be academic about it. And to my layman understanding, the law is supposed to be proactive and not retroactive. You can see that some of the judgments given by the Supreme Court are retroactive. For instance, asking the governor to represent a budget that has been passed and implemented. That is to show you the level of the unseen hand in the judgment. No. Keep that aside. You agree with me that the former governor have made even far-reaching worse decisions than this governor. For example, the former governor institutionalized caretaker committees in Rivers State. Today is against it. The former governor used 6 members of the Rivers State House of Assembly to govern, pass budget and govern when the tribunal dismissed some of the members of the House. There was nothing happened. The system was not crippled. So why is the Supreme Court looking the other side? Now, by the actions of the Supreme Court decision, they have automatically shortchanged the Rivers people. Are they trying to use a judicial means to remove an elected governor? These are the questions to ask. Because at the end of the day, Rivers people are at the receiving end. If the Supreme Court aim at justice, justice for whom? Is it justice for one man or some group of people, or justice for the Rivers people who have elected a governor to govern them? Because when you cripple a state like Rivers State, you know, that at the end of the day, by this month, the governor will not be able to pay workers at the hospital. That means nurses and doctors will stop going to work. Patients will begin to die. Schools will shut down. Transportation will not work. Does the Supreme Court put all these things into consideration before giving judgment? Because just...
So let me bring in Barrister Ngu. Do you see a way around some of these concerns raised beyond the legality?
No, I can't understand everyone's sentiment. I keep saying this all the time, that the guy that understands how the game is played and then understand how to... I go back to all the things I've been saying. Before you begin a dispute resolution, you must have a strategy well thought out, understanding the implications of the strategy and playing with that. Whether there can be if you say let me understand your question perfectly. If you say whether there's any legal way around it, you mean for a way for the government of Rivers State to be assessing its funds? Is that what you mean?
So let me just clarify. What I'm trying to say is that beyond the legality of the Supreme Court, do you see a situation whereby the president could intervene for the sake of those in Rivers State who don't really have any business with these two politicians that have been at loggerheads since the 2023 presidential election results?
Yes, see, the issue that gave rise to this whole thing was political, right? Even though it's not the legal undertone. The legal part has been sorted, even though there's still one other case subsisting about the defection of the speaker and the other members. But yes, there's a political way around it. It's a political way legally right now. There is still an argument to be had whether or not that decision affects the 2025. I said it's still something we can think about. Does that decision affect the year 2025, or does it end at the year 2024? Those are some of the legal gymnastics we need to not gymnastic, but legal reasoning we need to figure out. And it's not academic, with respect to Mr. Zoe. No, it's not academic. The part of it is this whole issue is political. Can there be a political solution? Obviously, there can be a political situation. There can be a political solution. But the law is very sacrosanct and clear. Before the governor can spend a dime of the state revenue, it's immaterial how we feel. Immaterial how we feel. That revenue, that bill must pass before the House. That bill must pass before the House of Assembly of the state, passed by the House of Assembly of the state and assented to the governor. That is the way the law is couched, and that's not going to change. Politically, some other things can be done. Legally, right now, that's the position of the law, except there's another argument which we can make. And in my mind,
Now, quickly, Barrister, I would love you to weigh in on what the case at the Federal High Court would mean for those who are supposedly making a case that they lose their seats, talking about their Mewule-led assembly and those other lawmakers, based on the fact that they defected to the APC.
Okay, see, if the Federal High Court decides that their seats are vacant, then the decision of the Supreme Court is then as reinstating them becomes invalid. Remember what I told you the last time we had this conversation. I said the issue of the defection of the speaker and his loyalists was not before the courts. It's in the press, it's outside, it's in the press, it's there, the sentiment is all there. It is not before the court. The court was not asked to pronounce on the issue of the defection of the speaker and his loyalists. That's why I say the sentiment comes in. Remember, I told you that the state government have withdrew his contention to the action of the speaker. And when they withdrew that, that means all the allegation made by the speaker in his suit that he is the proper speaker, there was no opposition to it. Right? So the matter is before the Federal High Court. If the Federal High Court rules that they have deflected and their seats are, the seat is vacant, they can't sit, irrespective of the Supreme Court decision. Because the Supreme Court decision was based on the fact that there's nothing before the Supreme Court proving or showing that the speaker and his loyalists have defected.
Mr. Zoe, I'm sure you're itching to make your reactions. Let's have it now.
Yes, like I said, I don't want to be academic in this issue. Talking about the governor presenting budget, we are forgetting the circumstances that led to the governor presenting budget to the few members of the House. Mind you, let's take, for example, God forbid, but let's take, for example, that the 27 members died, God forbid, they died. Will the governor not carry out governance in the states? Those are the kind of issues we should look at. But going ahead, let me answer the question you also asked him. If there are options for the governor. Yes, there are options for the governor. The governor can govern by constitutional means or by political means or both if there is stability. But at his right now, the governor has been shot to a box to a corner as far as the legal aspect of governance is concerned. But he still have an option to take the political path. So the governor can still have options in terms of politically. He should be able to exert his position as governor, taking advantage of his constitutional immunity. I think the governor also needs to, overhaul his strategic architecture, bring in strategies that can understand what the opposition is doing, preempt them, analyze them before time, and be proactive. So the governor needs such strategies to bring on board. The governor also needs to mobilize public support and focus majorly on the substantive case that is now lying before the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt. That is the basis of all of these issues that have risen. It should focus on that issue. And I don't know, for God's sake, why the court would be wasting time with such a matter that requires urgency, because it is that matter that will decide all these other judgments that the Supreme Court has given against the governor and the Rivers State government. So the governor still have options. But first and foremost, he needs to go beyond traditional politicians around him. He needs to bring in strategies that will help him navigate through this process. He needs to take over he needs to move to political maneuvering. He needs to leverage on his immunity and exert his influence as governor. That's why I appreciated his broadcast yesterday. That was wisdom by, dismissing the elected chairman and asking the HPMs of local government to take over. That's a very good strategy. But beyond that, there are a lot of things that he needs to take decision moving forward. So there are options still for the governor. He shouldn't allow himself to be forced to a corner by the judiciary or any legislative actions.
I can see Mr. Augustine wants to react. Please do go ahead.
You have finally come to agree with me with the issue of strategy. You finally come to agree with me that the issue of strategy, because the first thing about this whole issue was, were there a proper defection or not defection? That's, for me, that's the core that would just have been, that would have been focused on right from the beginning. All these other issues wouldn't have arisen if that was decided in the first place. But again, I take exception, Shatu, whether or not this is academic. I don't think it's academic because it's affecting everyone.
All right, let me come to you, Mr. Zoe, so you can react to what Augustine just said.
To some extent, I agree with you. The initial approaches of the government was not quite, because anyway, the governor was seeking for peace. Remember, he said it's a son and father relationship. So he was looking at that direction. I agree with you. When the Rivers State government and the governor went to withdraw their cases, that was when they nailed themselves. But that was also a setup. When they bring the influence of the president governor and put him under pressure to take those steps, that is what brought us to this level. However, I want to assure those who are making this decision that Rivers people, for certain, Rivers people know how to protect their state and their mandates. We have not shied away from doing that, and we'll face the challenge to this time around head on.
All right, let me stay on you, Barrister Augustine. We know there are definitely going to be plans to go after Governor Fubara, given the fact that the House of Assembly is fully back in full amidst all of what we've seen so far. How do you make of Governor Fubara navigating all of this situation?
Man, there's something that Mr. Zoe said that I'm all fours with, right? There are certain powers the governor has in the Constitution. There are certain powers the governor has in the Constitution, right? So that's first. There are some legal powers he has. Number two, there are political powers he has over this. There's some political powers he has and some political connection he has. Can the team sit down and create, I'll go back again, a coherent legal strategy of how, using his legal powers as the governor? Remember, the Supreme Court didn't strip him of the powers of the governor, but using his legal powers as the governor, using his political power also as the governor, to arrive at a spot where he is on top of this matter. One of the conversation I had, I think before we came up, was on the whether or not he will be impeached. Impeachment, unfortunately, is not something that happens as a matter of course. There are particular procedure for the impeachment of a governor. So for me, I don't see that can be one of the ways pressure will be put on him, but I don't see how they can do that as it is right now, except to see the articles of impeachment. But he has political powers. He has legal powers. He can use them.
Okay, so
But see,
let me
my
come
point
to
with him is this. Sorry, Mr. Zue mentioned something, and I'll say this. No, I'm not disrespecting the governor, but you should realize that this is not the game for naivety. In my years of practice, when I am in court, when we have a dispute resolution and the parties trying to settle, do you know what we do? We do not withhold our matter until the parties have settled and the terms of settlement have been signed. Right? So the terms of settlement have been signed, then we can begin withdrawing all our processes. What I see is he should realize that, man, this is a long-term strategic game, and be ready to play it in that form.
So you say he can go with full legal approach, but what is your thoughts on some of your colleagues who feel that he still can be impeached with the case that they won with at the Supreme Court?
Presented that he's presenting of the budget to the members of the House of the 5 or 6 members of the House of Assembly is an impeachable offense. That's an impeachable offense. Okay, let's get a bit, according to Mr. Zuri, a bit academic. First off, he's the governor, right? In accordance with the law, he's in charge of the executive arm. He's not in charge of the legislative arm, isn't it? So let's get there. So the legislative arm communicates to him that they have a speaker and that they've declared the other members have defected, right? That's what the legislative arm presents to him, that those members have defected. And he goes before those that he believes are the right people, are the right House members of the House of Assembly to present the budget. How wrong? What wrong has he done? Right? What wrong has he done? So the guys arguing, my colleagues arguing whether or not what they are on the basis of the Supreme Court decision, that's an impeachable offense. No disrespect to them, but there are circumstances that warrant his presenting that. Of course, there are other circumstances which I may not have access to. But if the governor wants to play the game, he can play the game, irrespective of the fact that allocation has been withheld. He can play that game.
So perhaps you can help Governor Fubara out in giving advice. I'm just saying.
Okay, so what's the role of the House of Assembly in a state, really? Let's put it down. Apart from appropriation, right? Apart from the appropriation bill, which the governor will have to get their consent for spending the money of the state. What is their other role? Their other role in governance is to pass laws that ensure that the state continues. Of course, if the laws were not in the books before, if the laws that are required to govern has already been passed before now, can the governor implement those laws? Does he need to go to them?
Our time is up. I want to thank you so much, Barrister Gustin Ungu, for being with us on the show today.
All right. Thank you, Mele. Thank you so much.
Well, our special thanks also goes to Mr. Zoe Tamonoye for being with us on the show. Because of the network glitch, we could not really establish a full conversation with him. But that's the much that we can take on the show. We will be monitoring compliance of Governor Fubara based on the Supreme Court ruling and also the 24-day ultimatum given to him. Our time is up once again. My name is Morno Balagogo. Many thanks for watching and bye for now.